Which is better camera of the two, OnePlus 80 or Samsung S20 FE? Both have great design, flagship specs and same battery. But what about cameras? Sure, on paper we have more cameras on OnePlus 80, but S20 FE have more meaningful set of cameras. I think you know what I mean. We had also thrown S20 Plus into the mix to make the comparison more interesting. S20 Plus has a far more superior setup. But let's compare the cameras of S20 FE to S20 Plus 2. Because now S20 Plus is coming in the 50,000 price point. So to know which camera stands at what position out of the three, stay tuned till the end of the video. Without wasting time, let's dive into the video. Myself Sumi, behind the camera we have Karthik. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications. Welcome to Mr. and Mrs. Tech.
First, let's start about the camera setup on these phones. OnePlus 80 has 4 cameras on the back, in which 2 are 5 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth sensor. The main camera is the same old IMX586 sensor used from 7, 7 Pro, 70, 8 and now in 80. Also, we have a 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera at 123 degree angle wide. S20 FE and S20 Plus has same main camera, a 12 megapixel with dual pixel PDAF and a fairly big 1.8 micrometer pixel size. S20 FE has 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor as the S20 Plus, but the S20 Plus ultra-wide pixel size is bigger at 1.4 micrometer to 1.2 micrometer in S20 FE. The S20 FE has a 8 megapixel true 3x telephoto lens, whereas S20 Plus has a 64 megapixel sensor which is cropped to achieve 3x hybrid zoom. This 64 megapixel sensor is also used to shoot 8K video in S20 Plus. All these phones can shoot at 4K 60 fps and slow motion up to 240 fps in 80 and S20 FE, whereas S20 Plus can go up to 960 fps. OnePlus 80 has 16 megapixel selfie camera, S20 FE has 32 megapixel selfie camera, S20 Plus has 10 megapixel selfie camera but has autofocus. Now let's start with main camera samples. If we look at all these samples, we notice one thing: the S20 Plus photos comes with highest saturation followed by FE and 80. All these phones takes great photos in daylight, but when you pixel peek, you can see the 80s photos have more noise and less detail. The S20 FE and S20 Plus main camera outputs almost same photos, except the S20 Plus photos are a bit more saturated. One thing we can notice is how blue the sky is in Samsung phones. That is definitely not the sky color, but still the photos look more good in those. Moving on to ultra-wide samples, the field of view is slightly bigger in Samsung phones. Detail-wise, all these phones are the same. That is not as good as the main camera, but good enough for social media. The dynamic range is good on S20 FE than 80 or even S20 Plus. Even the colors in S20 FE are more pleasing than S20 Plus, which oversaturates everything. The 80 colors are more muted but are more true to life. Check at these ultra-wide shots. Clearly, the dynamic range in 80 has taken a bit in the shadows. See the details in the shadow of both S20 Plus and S20 FE. Now coming to the zoom shots, 80 has no telephoto and all the zoom photos are cropped from the main sensor. As usual, cropped photos lack detail and dynamic range. At 3x, the S20 FE and S20 Plus has almost equal details. The both phones output absolutely same 3x zoom photos despite having completely different sensors. The 3x zoom photos have good dynamic range and acceptable details. The 80 is almost no even at 2x zoom, leave aside the 3x zoom. If we zoom more up to 5x and 10x, the 80 photos go worse and worse, whereas S20 FE photos are more sharper, even sharper than S20 Plus, but that's how the telephoto camera works. The portrait photos taken from S20 Plus comes out excellent as it has a time of flight sensor for depth information. The S20 FE photos also comes out good. Remember, the Samsung phones does not have dedicated portrait mode but is baked in more settings called live focus. The S20 Plus and OnePlus 80 can shoot portraits in 2x zoom mode, but the 2x zoom portraits in 80 are far worse in detail. The regular portraits also have some issues. separating the background, and this is not acceptable having a complete sensor for depth information. The colors in 80 are also way off, and here S20 FE colors are more pleasing to eyes. Now let's talk about low light shots. From main camera, all three phones takes good photos. 80 always automatically uses long exposure similar to night mode. Check out these samples. The light is completely blown off in 80 image, whereas S20 Plus and S20 FE shoots preserved more details. Yes, 80 photos is more bright, but the details are less and even the photos has more yellowish tones. The ultra-wide low light and zoomed low light shoots are nothing to talk about in these phones. With nightscape enabled, all the three phones take similar looking photos with more detail in Samsung phones as always. Check the sky in this sample. Night mode is applicable in ultra-wide mode also, and the photos are just usable, nothing to talk about. Coming to selfies, here 80 has more details than S20 Plus and S20 FE. Even the skin tones are more natural in Oneplus 80. The S20 FE and S20 Plus changes the skin tones a lot and are a bit softer than Oneplus 80. Selfie portraits comes out excellent in S20 Plus, but the 80 selfie portraits are outright bad. Overall, seeing these samples, the photo quality of 80 is way lower than S20 Plus and S20 FE. Let's check the video quality of these phones. This is 1080p 60 fps sample, and as always, S20 Plus has more saturated colors and 80 has more muted colors. The details in S20 Plus is greater and S20 FE closely follows, but 80 is not much detailed as other two. The dynamic range in all the three phones is so good. The stabilization is OnePlus 80 is more good than other two, but this is the only plus point for OnePlus 80. The slow motion videos in all three phones are good and do justice to the name. Check out this sample. The low light videos are nothing detailed, and this is where all the flagship should focus on. Check this sample video in low light. The S20 Plus is a tad detailed, but that's it. Overall, video quality is almost same in all the three phones.
So the difference between S20 FE and S20 Plus with the image quality is virtually the same. In some cases, the S20 FE color reproduction is more pleasing than the S20 Plus. The OnePlus 80 image quality is the same sad affair. Using the same main camera sensor from the 4 iteration, the quality does not match the S20 Duo. The daylight photos are good but not detailed enough. The ultra-wide cameras also have the same issue. And lack of telephoto camera makes OnePlus 80 a real loser in this comparison. The only plus point in OnePlus 80 is the selfies. They are more detailed and the colors are more natural. So the main camera, telephoto camera, ultra-wide camera and videos, in all of this, S20 Duo is better than OnePlus 80. So this is the complete camera comparison video. If you like this video and if you want more comparison videos like this, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.